Thank you very much for the invitation to come talk to you today. Hope you've all learned something already. I've learned if I can ask Richard Purvis something 6 times, then I'll definitely get it. I think that's what I've taken away. So I was asked to come and talk about how careers websites can enhance your direct sourcing ability. As Tasha said, typically I do this presentation hand in hand with Emma Fulton from LV, but she's not able to make it today. But I'll be able to fill in her little bits and pieces, I hope. However, it was meant to be like a two-header thing, so there may come some slightly awkward moments when I have to talk in Emma's voice. But this bit's my bit. So what makes a great careers website? I think now we're getting into the third age of careers websites. You know, there was an age where basically they were just an ATS system and you just put your jobs on there. Then we went through a stage of adding really interesting and compelling content that sat on top of it. Now in this third age, we're really thinking about the candidate experience. We're not approaching it from our point of view as recruiters, we're not approaching it from the point of view as marketers, but we're also approaching it from the point of view as the job seeker, and actually trying to make sure that we are delivering them the things that they want. But it's really important to remember what the primary objective of your website is. And that is to convert visitors into high-quality applicants. Whether you like it or not, whether you know it or not, typically the first place that anybody will come into contact with your employer brand is going to be your website. You know, they may see it on Google, an opportunity on Google, they may see it on a job board, but the reality is that it's not until they actually land on your website that they're really going to be exposed to everything that you are. Now, when it comes to your employer brand, the reality is that you can't create an employer brand. You already have it. Now, what we can do is we can influence it. We can identify what it is that you want to be strong in. We can identify the things that maybe you're weak in and strengthen those arguments. So thinking about those 3 aims of the careers website, the first one is just to get a great process in place. And actually a good applicant tracking system will do that. That'll help you build that process. And that's going to be a joint venture between you as the recruitment team and the ATS supplier to make sure that you're getting exactly what it is out of it that you want and your hiring managers want, but also from a candidate's point of view, it's not a laborious and long and drawn out process. You can work with partners in making sure that the careers website that sits around it is actually convincing people that this is an organization that they want to join. That this is a place, you know, the rewards are good, the development's good, the personal development, the career progression's going to be good, you know, and use your people to really sort of get that across them. But I think for me, the third age is getting people to buy into it. Make this emotional connection. This is where your employer brand really comes into effect. To not only say, this is a company that I'd really like to work for, but actually say, this is the only company that I really want to work for. You know, I might be thinking about 3 different employers at this moment in time, but actually this is the one that I'm going to give all my heart and soul and all my energy into applying for. Because if you've got an emotional connection and compelling content, but the process isn't right, you're just going to spend all your time processing applications. And for those people who haven't got an ATS, and there's been a couple who I've spoken to today, you probably find yourself just jumping from one Excel spreadsheet to another. For those people who've got good emotional connection and a great process, but no compelling content, then the quality of the people who actually apply for you can be really quite poorly informed. They're not going to present themselves well at interviews. So when you're handing those over to your hiring managers, then maybe they're not representing themselves or you in the best possible way. But for me, if you've got compelling content and a great process, but no emotional connection, I think the real problem is that you're just going to end up with a poor culture fit. And actually, these people aren't going to be great with regards to quality of hire. You could easily find that these people are, leaving after the first 6 months. So what we need to do is try and find a way of transmitting all that to people at the very first point of contact that they have. So I wanted to talk about a number of different things that we've worked out and make it related to the LV Careers website. When we first sat down and looked at this particular project, we were astounded by the lack of information about what makes a great careers website. There is not very much out there. So actually, as part of this process, we decided we'd do our own. And we sat down and worked out a survey that we then shared through a partner to over 3,000 job seekers. And they came back to us with 85 different factors that they wanted to see on a careers website. And that allowed us to then steer the development of this website in the direction that we wanted to make sure that it actually gave them what it was that we were looking for. So what are job seekers looking for a career? This is Emma's bit, clearly. So what is it that they're looking for? Well, they want to be able to find it. I think this is one of the most important things, is that how are they going to get there? Now, some of them will get there through job postings. Some of them will get there through a Google search. Some of them will get there from a link on your corporate website. But some of them will just hear it word of mouth as well and actually come straight to you. So you have to make sure that people can find it. So with regards to the LV website, it used to sit in the footer. And hands up how many people's link to their careers website sits in the footer of their corporate sites. It's sort of like hidden away. Some people's might even sit within a page. We went and said, can we have it in a prominent position? Because actually, when the LV team looked at Google Analytics, they found it was the 5th most popular page on their website. And say that the others are actually for services and products that they offer. Therefore, it demanded a primary position. Hands up whose career website is a standalone website, as opposed to being part of the corporate. Good. I'm actually a big fan, because I think the way that people will interact with Google is typically go in and they'll search either your brand and then the word jobs. And so you want to make sure that you come at the top of that. But if, as part of a major corporate website, then actually the indexing of your careers website is normally quite poor. It might be just one subsection of it. When actually, probably your careers website's probably got 30 or 40 pages in it, trying to explain to people what it is that makes it good to work for you. But also, you want to try and build a website that is going to be indexed for specific job searches as well. So in the case of LV Careers here, this is a result of a search that is just Bournemouth jobs, and they come sort of 7th on that list. Because not only do they just want to be indexed for their brand and the fact that there's jobs there, but actually they want to be indexed for the things that they really need to recruit. They want to be able to find your jobs. So give them the opportunity to search straight away. It breaks my heart as somebody who works in website development to know that nearly 70% of people just go straight to the find a job link from the homepage. So they're missing quite a lot of really rich information that you're providing. That's fine, because actually the people who tend to delve into the deeper information, the people who've already accepted an interview with them, and they'll use it to find out about you. But why don't you just make it part of the homepage? Why can't they search from the moment that they launch into it? Because that then gives us another opportunity, because what we can do then is actually deliver a results page that maybe also at the same time doesn't just give them the jobs, but also tells them about different areas that they might want to work in it. A sort of degree of personalization. So it means that they're seeing that richer content as well as just finding the jobs that they're requesting. They really want to get under the skin of your business. They want to know what it's like to work there. The thing is that different people who come to your website are probably looking for different things. So some of your senior executives are going to be really interested in the performance of the business. They're going to be interested in your plans for the future. They're interested in your growth plans. Some might be interested in the more cultural side of the business. So they want to find out what it's like actually to work there. So this page on LV's site is all about their culture. Now, typically culture, it might be a set of bullet points or a paragraph on your website, and that's a really terrible way to try and articulate what it's like to be part of that business. So this way, they just use lots of images that they've taken off their Instagram accounts that their own employees had taken, and when you clicked on them, it just gave you a little bit more of the message. But it just gave you a really deep idea of what it is that the company's up to. Some people might be interested in your commitment to equality and fairness. So actually, as part of LV's website, rather than talking about their equal opportunity statement, they talk about messages from people within the business who are benefiting from a really open and honest approach to diversity and inclusion. This lady here, she was recently received one of the Women in Finance Awards. She's actually a transgender member of the team, and she's a real advocate of how committed LV are into investing in people who have additional social needs. If we can, because everybody who comes to your website is probably looking for something different, let's see if we can deliver content that's relevant to them. So in this particular case, it's for customer service people. We've built a series of landing pages for each of these different audiences, rather than it being paragraphs. And within that landing page, you can find out what it's like to work there. You can get a proper insight into, through the use of video, about the individual questions that people have about the business, what different teams are actually working within customer service, some testimonials from people who are already doing that job. They do have a number of different sites within the UK, so we tell them exactly where these people are based, and they have a blog within their site, so these are stories that are relevant to people looking for customer service jobs. But more importantly, at the bottom of that list, there's a connection to the jobs and to the team that are recruiting for them. So all in one journey, on one page, we've delivered, hopefully, the whole candidate convincing argument about what it is to work at customer service there. Hopefully, the whole website itself will give them an idea of whether they're going to be culturally a good fit for you. Or more importantly, whether you're going to be culturally a good fit for them. Because what we want to do is we want to increase the quality of hire. We want to make sure that people are staying there past that first 6 months, that people are really bought into the business. So things like imagery, content, sometimes you can even put on their quiz. If you're looking for specific behaviours and skills, then actually by putting a quiz in place to see if they match your behaviours and skills is a really nice way of getting people to see themselves at that business. Ideally, they want to hear from your people. You know, it's all very well us writing words on a page, but actually, if you can articulate it through the words and the voices of the people who actually work for you, that's a far more successful way of approaching it. Here's a set of 8 questions which are the most common asked questions at interview about the customer service role at LV, and so we just created a short film as an answer to each of them. Or more importantly, this is a big area of their site, is their blog, as we tend to call it, although it isn't really a blog, you can't answer or make comments on it. It's a publishing platform, a way of them being able to tell stories. And they just tell stories in line with either the needs of the business or a recruitment need or just something that they want to champion. In this particular case, it was Debbie St. Clair, who is partially sighted or visually impaired, and therefore her workstation has absolutely been set up to support her on that. The great thing about this story is that then they can share it on social media through their LV Careers social media Twitter feed. And actually, in this particular case, they referenced the Royal Institute of Blind People, and they retweeted it back saying, what a fantastic example of an inclusive employer. Now that, for them, was like a rubber stamp of how effective their inclusion program is. I don't know why we're still talking about this, but it is really important. If you haven't got a mobile-enabled website, then it's something you should be looking at straight away. What's more interesting is the mobile-enabled applicant tracking system. You know, I think that's something that we need to be looking at as well. Because hopefully, when people have looked at all the rich content and found the job that they're interested in, they want to make an application. So let's just facilitate them. You know, how easy can it be? You know, they have real problems recruiting for technology and business change jobs, so they put you directly in contact with the resources who actually work on that area of the business. So they can build up that human connection that we were talking about before. So they can build up that rapport. And if they've got any direct questions about the job, they know exactly who to talk to. And again, talking about the mobile platform, you know, how can we convert more people? Now, I won't lie to you, the LV application process is 16 steps long. You know, the financial services organisation, they have quite a lot of compliance information that they need to collect. So they're really open and honest. If you find a job on their mobile website, it will tell you you might find making an application easier from a desktop, because this is going to take quite a long time, and you probably haven't got the information available to do it. So why don't you just send it to yourself and pick it up later? It means that they haven't fallen out of the recruitment process, because we track all of those. But what it does mean is that you're trying to make sure that people are making the best possible application, because while on one hand we all want to make the process as easy as we possibly can to people, making an application through a mobile device is actually a very, very difficult thing to do. Especially if then you as a resourcer are then going to get that application in and start persecuting people because they've made spelling mistakes or typos, or the autocorrect has put the wrong word in there. So let's make sure that we're empowering people to make the best possible application. They want to be able to see themselves at your business. So when they land on your careers website, ideally they want to see people who are like them, or see that they will fit in there. Now, if you have a particular commitment to increasing the diversity of your workforce, then you need to make sure that the imagery that you're using on the site is not only reflective of the business that you are, but maybe reflects the business that you want to be. And the best way to do that is have a photo shoot. You know, this, and Emma will say this if she was here, is the best money they spent. Because it meant that they had not only images for the website, but they had images for all of their recruitment or attraction, all their attraction materials, whether that's social media updates, whether that's internal posters, whether that's external 48-sheet posters or bus shelter posters. And they made sure that the diversity of those images, you know, reflective of the organisation they were, whether that's on age, whether that was on gender, whether it was on sexuality, whether it was on ethnicity, because they wanted to make sure that they had a suite that would really appeal to people. But more importantly, they wanted to be positioned as a warm, engaging, and open place to work. And so the imagery throughout the website sort of reflects that personality. As we go back to saying what's right at the very beginning, whether you know it or not, whether you like it or not, you already have an employer brand. And this is the place that most people are going to come into contact with it for the first time. So let's make sure that it's reflected the business that you want to be. Right down to age as well. If you've got a young workforce and you want to encourage more older people, or even vice versa, then make sure that the imagery reflects that. So, what could the results look like? I built them a website in 2013, and then I worked with them on the website in 2016. There was nothing wrong with the 2013 site. You know, it picked up a number of awards. It helped them convert people. It worked really, really well for them. But actually, it was a bit cold. And what they really wanted to be was seen as more warm and inviting. So that's where we got to in 2016. And these are the results. 87% increase in website visitors, 16% increase in the average time spent on the website, but more importantly, nearly a 30% increase in completed applications. And that is from people starting an application to finishing it off as well. You know, there was a high increase in people not dropping out through the application process because they were so bought into it that actually the 16-step application process wasn't that much of an issue to them. It would have been if people weren't really emotionally engaged with that business. So, how do you know whether you're meeting the expectations of the job seeker? Going back to that piece of research, those 85 different touch points, we started pulling them together into broad categories and giving them a score out of 10. So we looked at the visibility, whether people could find you, the impact of when you landed on the site, how did it make you feel, the general look and feel, does it look like it's a business that really understands what the web can offer? Is the navigation and architecture intuitive? You know, am I finding the content that I want? Is then the content itself interesting? You know, is it sort of the level of detail that I'm looking for? Are they articulating that through film? Are they using social media as a way of getting that personality across as well? Is it mobile optimized? You know, what's the ATS process like? And then we ran it through a number of different people to then see, you know, does it look like the sort of place I'd really like to work? You know, does it feel like it gives a broad range of opportunities? You know, Do I know more about this company than when I first landed on it? And it allows us to bring up this score, this what we call the Careers Website Index. And that will give you a score out of 10 about how good your website is. But even more, we could then drill down into two clear areas, which is this structure and function. Is the navigation and the content and the application process, is that all good? And what's that score out of 10? And then also, what's this emotional connection like? And that's allow us then to plot things on a graph. And this allows us, I suppose, to benchmark you against your competitors. So, for example, if we were to do an exercise like that for you and then do an exercise like that for 3 of your main competitors, we'd probably end up with a scatter diagram, something like this. Now this, because the in-house recruitment network were nice enough to share who was attending today, this is a scatter diagram of the businesses that are in this room, with a couple thrown in. There's LV and the National Trust in there as well, and Virgin. So you, in many cases, will be sitting somewhere on this graph. If you're interested in seeing what your score is, then if you come over to me, and we can either pull up your scores straight away, or we'll be able to send you a report through. And that's it from me. Any questions?